Walk with me into your bathroom now. Look at the amber bottle on your counter. You dipped your fingers into it last night, warmed it between your palms, pressed it up your neck and along your cheekbones. This morning, you saw a face that looked younger, fuller, awake. You felt certain the castor oil was rebuilding something. I am telling you, as a dermatologist, that what you saw was real, but almost none of it was the oil. And the routine you fell in love with may be quietly costing you the two things your skin actually needs after 50. I need you to hear me clearly. Nightly castor oil facials do produce visible changes on mature skin. Women are not imagining the softness, the plumpness, or that dewy morning glow. The results are real. The problem is that almost everyone, including the influencers filming the tutorials, has misidentified what is causing them. And once you understand what is actually happening on your face at 3 in the morning under that thick amber film, you will look at this entire trend and your own routine very differently. Castor oil comes from the seed of the Ricinus communis plant. It is roughly 90% ricinoleic acid, which is an unusual fatty acid you will not find in most other plant oils. Ricinoleic acid does have documented anti-inflammatory activity in laboratory work. That part of the story is true, but castor oil is what dermatologists call an occlusive. Occlusive is a simple word. It means the oil sits on the surface of your skin and forms a physical seal, like plastic wrap laid across a wet countertop. Water underneath cannot escape. That is the entire mechanism. Think of your skin barrier as a brick wall. The bricks are your skin cells. The mortar between them is a mixture of lipids and ceramides that holds everything together and keeps water inside. When you paint a heavy occlusive over that wall at night, you are not adding new bricks. You are not restoring the mortar. You are wrapping the whole wall in a raincoat. Water that would have slowly evaporated through the night stays trapped in the upper layers. Your skin cells swell. The fine lines that show up when you are dehydrated flatten out. And when you walk to the mirror at 7 in the morning, you see the result of that trapped water and read it as anti-aging. That is why the trend spread so fast. It is cheap. It is one ingredient. It is what your grandmother used. It shows visible results overnight, which almost nothing else in skincare does. And it feels like the opposite of the confusing, overpriced routines you have been sold for 30 years. I understand exactly why women reached for it. In many ways, the honesty of a single amber bottle is refreshing. But I want you to try something today. Do not check your face in the morning. Check it at 3 in the afternoon. Stand in natural light. Look at the same jawline, the same laugh lines, the same skin along your temples. In most women, the plumping is gone by then. The water has redistributed, the trapped hydration has evaporated. The face you saw at 7 has quietly returned to the face you had at bedtime. That fade is the fingerprint of occlusion. Real collagen change does not disappear in 8 hours. If the oil were actually rebuilding collagen, thickening your dermis, or reversing wrinkles at a structural level, the improvement would compound over weeks. It would still be there at 3 in the afternoon. It would still be there on a hot day when your skin is losing moisture faster than usual. It would still be there after you washed your face. What you are seeing instead is a nightly cycle of swelling and settling. Beautiful, sometimes dramatic, but temporary. Now, I want to be fair to the oil. Ricinoleic acid can calm surface irritation. Some women with reactive or menopausal skin genuinely feel more comfortable when they use it because the barrier is held under an occlusive film long enough to recover from whatever they were doing to it before. That is a real benefit. It just is not the benefit being advertised. There is also a second reason women feel better on this routine, and it has nothing to do with castor oil at all. When you start a single ingredient nightly ritual, you usually stop doing other things. You stop the foaming cleanser that was stripping you. You stop the strong exfoliant you were using twice a week without realizing your barrier was already compromised. You stop layering four serums whose actives were fighting each other on your face. You give your skin a rest, and your skin thanks you for the rest, and you credit the oil. This is where the story starts to turn on itself. Because if the visible improvement is mostly trapped water, mostly rested barrier, and mostly the removal of harsher products, then the oil is not really the treatment. It is the excuse for a gentler routine. And that reframing matters enormously because the next question is the one nobody in the tutorials is asking. What is happening to postmenopausal skin underneath that nightly film? What is happening in the actual dermis, in the collagen network, in the tissue that determines whether your face at 60 looks like your face at 50 or drops another full decade below it? Because there is something specific happening to your skin after menopause that no amount of occlusion can touch. Something that a plumped up morning face is actively hiding from you. And the longer you rely on that morning reflection as proof the routine is working, the more time you may be losing on the interventions that actually protect the structure of your skin. I want to take you into that layer next, into the part of the wall that is not the paint and not even the bricks, into the frame of the house. Here is what almost no one told you when your period stopped. In the first 5 years after menopause, women lose an estimated 30% of the collagen in their skin, not over decades, in 5 years. Research by Brinkat and other menopause dermatology groups has been showing this pattern for a long time, and it changes everything about how you should think about your face after 50. Estrogen was one of the main signals telling the fibroblasts in your dermis to keep producing collagen and elastin. When estrogen drops, that signal fades, production slows, breakdown continues, and the frame of the house begins to shift. I want you to hold that image with me. Your skin is not just a wall of bricks. Behind the wall is a wooden frame that gives the whole structure its shape. That frame is your dermis. It is where your collagen bundles live, where your elastin fibers give your skin its snap, where small blood vessels feed the tissue above. When you were 30, that frame was dense and taut. After menopause, the beams begin to thin, the joints loosen, the wall is still there, but the frame is no longer holding everything in the exact position it used to. Now ask yourself an honest question. Can a coat of oil, no matter how carefully warmed between your palms, reach into that frame and rebuild it? The answer biologically is no. Castor oil is a large molecule. It does not penetrate deeply. It sits above the wall. It seals the wall. It calms the wall. But the frame is untouched. So when a woman tells me her castor oil routine reversed her jowls or lifted her cheekbones, I understand what she is seeing. And I also know what she is not seeing. She is seeing hydrated stratum corneum. She is not seeing regenerated dermis. Those are two entirely different tissues, and confusing them costs you years. I promised I would be fair to ricinoleic acid, and I meant it. Laboratory and animal studies show ricinoleic acid can reduce inflammatory markers in tissue. For a woman whose barrier is inflamed from over-cleansing, that calming effect is real and useful. For a woman with dry, reactive, menopausal skin, Sealing that barrier at night can genuinely reduce redness and tightness by morning. I am not dismissing any of that, but anti inflammatory activity at the surface is not the same as collagen synthesis in the dermis. Calming the wall is not rebuilding the frame. The trend collapsed those two ideas into one, and that is where the marketing quietly broke away from the science. Now I have to talk to you about something more uncomfortable. Almost every castor oil facial tutorial includes a massage, sometimes with the fingers, sometimes with a gouache stone or jade roller. The strokes almost always move in a specific direction: down the sides of the face, down the neck, down along the jawline. That direction feels productive because it looks like drainage. It feels like you are sculpting something, but look at what you are actually doing to skin that has lost 30% of its structural collagen. Estrogen depleted skin has reduced elastin recoil. When you pull it, stretch it, or drag it, it does not spring back the way it did when you were 35. It returns more slowly. Each time you stretch it aggressively during a 15-minute nightly massage, you are asking a weakened frame to absorb repeated mechanical force it was not designed for. Dermatologists who see menopausal patients regularly are increasingly cautious about heavy downward facial massage on skin already showing laxity. Not because touch is bad, gentle circulation is fine, but dragging lax tissue downward night after night on a frame that has already lost its density is not a lift. Over time, it may be the opposite of a lift. You may not feel the difference for weeks. You may even feel your face looks more defined at first because the swelling from the occlusion is masking a slow structural change underneath. This is why the routine is so seductive. The short-term feedback tells you it is working. The long-term direction of your skin tells a different story. You will only see clearly in photographs taken 6 months apart. But even this is not the worst of it. I need to tell you the reversal that actually matters. In my clinical experience and in the experience of most dermatologists who work with women over 50, the danger of this routine is not the castor oil itself. The danger is what women stop using when they start. I have had women sit across from me and tell me they gave up their tretinoin because the oil felt gentler. I have had women stop their morning sunscreen because the oil made their skin feel so hydrated they thought they no longer needed it. I have had women abandon their vitamin C serum because the single ingredient ritual felt pure. Every one of those trades is a trade against the science we actually have. Topical retinoids are the most evidence supported anti aging molecule dermatology has ever produced. Broad spectrum sunscreen is the single most powerful anti aging intervention available to any woman at any age. Both have decades of clinical data. Both work in exactly the layer of skin where castor oil cannot reach. Both protect and rebuild the frame of the house. So when the amber bottle replaces the retinoid, you have swapped a proven collagen stimulating treatment for a barrier seal. When it replaces the sunscreen, you have removed the one thing standing between your dermis and the ultraviolet radiation that is actively degrading whatever collagen you have left. The oil did not cause the damage. The disappearance of the interventions did. And the plumped morning face you love is, in a cruel way, the exact reason you stopped noticing what you gave up. That is the real crazy result of this routine, not what the oil built, what the oil quietly convinced you to abandon. So the question in front of you now is not whether castor oil is good or bad. That framing was always too simple. The real question is what role it deserves in the routine of a woman who wants her skin at 60 to look and function like the skin of a woman who protected the frame of the house instead of just repainting the wall every night. And the answer, if you strip away the tutorials and the marketing, is smaller and more honest than the trend admits. Castor oil earns a supporting role, never the lead. Let me tell you what an evidence based routine looks like for a woman over 50, not the 12-step routines the industry sells you, not the single ingredient rituals TikTok sells you. The middle path dermatology has been quietly pointing to for years. In the morning, before anything else, sunscreen, broad spectrum, mineral or chemical, whichever you tolerate. A full teaspoon for the face and neck together, not the pea-sized dab most women use. If you take nothing else from this conversation, take this. The ultraviolet radiation that hit your face on the walk to your car this morning is right now, at a molecular level, breaking down collagen in your dermis and generating free radicals that damage your fibroblasts. Sunscreen is the one intervention that stops that process in the moment it is happening. It is not a beauty product. It is a medical treatment you apply every day of your life. Under the sunscreen, if you can tolerate it, a vitamin C serum, L-ascorbic acid at a stable concentration. Vitamin C is the workhorse antioxidant of the skin. It neutralizes some of the free radical damage sunscreen cannot fully block. And there is good evidence it supports collagen synthesis over time. If your skin is reactive, a gentler derivative like sodium ascorbyl phosphate is a reasonable starting point. This is not glamour. This is maintenance. This is what quietly holds the frame together. At night, this is where the real anti-aging work happens. A tolerated retinoid. That word covers a range. Prescription tretinoin is the strongest and best studied. Adapalene, which used to be prescription only, is now available over the counter and has excellent evidence behind it. Retinol is weaker but more forgiving. Start low, twice a week. Buffer with a moisturizer if your skin is sensitive. Give it 3 to 6 months. Retinoids are the closest thing dermatology has to a molecule that actually reaches into the frame of the house and tells the fibroblasts to start building again. Nothing in a bottle of castor oil approaches this. On top of the retinoid, a ceramide-rich moisturizer. Ceramides are the mortar in the wall we talked about earlier. Replacing them at night helps the barrier repair itself, especially in menopausal skin, which loses ceramides faster than younger skin. This is where you get most of the comfort and softness the castor oil was giving you without giving up the deeper treatment underneath. And now, if you love your castor oil, here is where it belongs. On a night when your skin is particularly dry, on a night when the retinoid is not on your schedule, as a final thin layer over the ceramide moisturizer, sealing everything underneath. That is the role it earns, not the whole routine. A final overnight seal used occasionally on nights when your barrier is asking for it, applied without dragging, without the 15-minute downward massage, pressed gently into the skin with flat palms, upward if you move at all. That is a use of castor oil the science actually supports. Now, I need to say something harder because the plumping and softening this routine gives you can hide something more important than aging. It can hide a spot that has quietly changed, a patch of skin that no longer heals the way it used to, a lesion on your nose or temple that keeps returning after you thought it was gone, a dark spot with a border that has become uneven, a place on your ear or scalp you never think to look at. Skin cancer risk climbs with age and cumulative sun exposure, and postmenopausal skin is exactly the demographic where dermatologists most want to catch changes early. If you have a spot that is new, growing, changing color, bleeding, itching, or refusing to heal within a few weeks. That is not something an oil will fix. That is not something any topical will fix. That is a reason to see a board certified dermatologist for an in person skin check. Please do not let a soft, dewy morning face convince you that everything on your skin is fine. Look carefully. When in doubt, get looked at. Now walk back with me to the bathroom mirror where we started. The amber bottle is still on your counter. Your face still looks fuller and softer in the morning after you use it. None of that was a lie, but you understand now what you're actually seeing. You are seeing hydrated stratum corneum. You are seeing a rested barrier. You are seeing the temporary generosity of an occlusive film over tissue that is quietly changing underneath. The plumpness is real. The lift is not. And the frame of the house is still doing whatever it was doing before you started this routine, unless you gave it the tools it needs. The crazy results the title promised you are real. They just belong to the wrong ingredient. The real transformation, the one you can still have if you rebuild your routine tomorrow morning, comes from sunscreen, a retinoid, ceramides, and a dermatologist who knows your skin. Castor oil is welcome to stay in its proper place. So here's the one question I want you to sit with tonight, and I want you to answer it honestly in your own bathroom, in your own light. What did you stop using the night you started this routine? And is your skin actually better than it was 6 months before you began?